And then the whole thing that we wanted to talk about is what to do with them, right? Like
Yes.
how
What do you
to
do with them?
deal, yeah, like how to deal with this brand new person that you don't know. Like what I have my answers, and I've made a video about this too, but I'm really curious what your like what's your go-to sort of like, okay, here's this brand new person and like what do you do with them?
Yeah, well, funny enough, like I said, the last few weeks I've been diving with a lot of new folks
Yeah.
that I met. I guess one I met through my daughter's Girl Scouts
Cute.
troop,
Oh my
Brownies troop.
gosh.
He's
I love it.
he mentioned he's a diver. They were here. They do the meetings here at our house, and so we get to talking about diving, and we went out. And then the other one I met actually through a business, actually, sending out some emails. So I guess kind of online, but he had subscribed to something, and I sent out an email, and he hit me back, and I thought we were to get together, have coffee, talk about business and what's next and transitions and things like that for me. And all he wanted to talk about was diving, which is amazing. And he has a boat, which we're going to hopefully go diving off of while you're here.
Ka-ching! Like
Yeah. So we went
that's
out.
what you want. That's what you
Exactly.
want.
But
That's
okay,
hilarious. Okay, yeah,
to the
continue.
topic.
New diver with a boat.
So I have a couple of rules for myself I follow during diving with somebody new, and they're not like hard and fast. I need to communicate these rules to somebody else. They're just things that I hold in my mind when I'm diving with somebody new. Number one is I want to keep the dive as simple as possible. So let's go someplace that is not a challenging, or at least we think it won't be challenging, right? Dive somewhere that's maybe more familiar, that the navigation, where you are, those sorts of things. Not always possible, but if possible, let's do that. And just keep the dive stupid simple. Let's just do turn on time or gas. Let's do a simple plan. Let's not try to fit a bunch of stuff into it, and keep it just stupid simple. That's rule number one. Rule number two for me is leave all the other stuff behind. So I like to bring a GoPro, or I've been, messing with cameras and, all the other stuff. It's like also make your gear as simple as possible. So leave the camera behind for at least the first dive. Leave all the other stuff behind that you're going to be fiddling with or messing with. Just take, the core that you need, what you need for that simple dive, and go diving. So to keep it simple, not only on the dive site and location and plan, but also from a gear perspective of what you have to think about. And then the third rule that I follow is just to leave room in the day or whatever, time frame that you have to go diving, to have conversations. And I don't like a lot of people walk in, that get trained in different ways, and they're like, they have their way of dive planning, and you should put this over here and you should move this over here, your light should be on the right side, not the left side. None of that stuff for me. It's like, look, we're going diving for the first time. It's just, hey, how long have you been diving? When was the last dive you took? What do you really enjoy about it? Where did you train, and how did that go? And what do you want to do on this dive? And how do you usually descend? How do you usually ascend? And just leave room, not for like a pick you apart questioning, are you doing it right? Because that's how people can feel, but more just a discussion and open conversation, light, in the drive down, wherever, before you jump on the boat, to kind of figure out how to best adapt what you want to do and how you're trained to their training, and have it in your mind, visualize what that would look like. So those are my kind of three rules that internally I follow when I'm diving with somebody new, to try and keep both of us as safe as possible in what we're doing.
Nice. Yeah. I've very similar. Kind of I will say that I'm more willing to take that GoPro with me, even on a new one. I wouldn't take like my camera with like the big light and everything, but a GoPro, I'll take that. But I agree, keeping things simple, keeping the dives easy. I think that's the way to go. What I always tell people is like, just have that set of questions, kind of like what you described. Have that in your brain, but make it conversational. Kind
Yeah.
of touching on what you said, like to make it not make it feel like you're interviewing this person or you're like looking for
Interrogating
flaws.
them.
Yes, interrogating.
Yeah.
That's a great word. So I like knowing how many dives they have, what kind of conditions they're used to. You had said, when was your last dive? Where was your last dive? I like that. And then I think the really important thing is, how did your last dives go?
That's a good
Like,
question.
how did you feel? Right? Because that's you're getting an insight into their mindset and how they're feeling, how they're probably feeling today, right? If they had a great last dive, they're probably feeling more confident. Their, stress levels are lower. Whereas if they had something, maybe it was a tricky exit and they got tossed around a bit or whatever, like they could be, you can kind of gauge their nerve levels, right?
Yeah.
And that gives you good information, especially if you do happen to be like the more experienced person in the dive team. You can be like, okay, I got you. And not in like a judgy kind of way that might sound like. It's more like, I'm gonna be there for you. Not that you need to rely on me, but I'm gonna take extra care to like check out the situation and make sure that you're doing all right. I think that's where my instructor brain comes on in this, where like I obviously don't want to take away somebody's autonomy or their, they need to be a fully functional diver, right? But like, I'm going to be in that mode, right? If somebody's kind of a little bit shaky.
Yeah.
So that's what I go with. I think knowing the how is like, how did it go? How did you feel in your last dives is a really important thing to know.